And it's mission accomplished. Unfortunately,
No,
go ahead.
Do you know what year that they started fuel injection in the Jags?
I do not know.
As a younger guy, I remember those SU carburetors that they used to put on those on those Jaguars, and that's when I think of Jaguar. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is those SU carburetors.
Well, I think mine has an SU carburetor. I'm not sure. I know they have SU fuel pumps, and the European cars always have been ahead of the U.S. cars as far as innovations like fuel injection. Now, my 51 is not fuel injected. It's got the carburetor. However, this is a 1951 3.4-liter engine. Cast iron block, aluminum heads, dual overhead cam on a 1951 engine.
That's something to raise your eyebrows at.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. The dual overhead cams and everything. I'm surprised it's not fuel injected, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know when they came up with fuel injection. I really don't. But yeah, I mean, the European companies, the Brits, the Germans, the French have always been a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that fuel is just so doggone expensive in Europe. Okay.
Yeah, it's necessity is the mother of all inventions, That stands to reason. Yeah. Yeah. The V12s, and then, of course, who was it, Jan and Dean, made the Jags really popular in their song about Dead Man's Curve and everything.
Yep, exactly.
And really, really, and of course, there was other British autos, the little midgets and the MGs and the Triumphs and the Aston Martin. Very, very stylish cars. Very much so.
Yeah, the MGs were part of Morris Company. In fact, MG stands for Morris Garage.
Really?
The Morris Miners and those types of cars, those are all part of MG. In fact, MG they're still an active company, actually.
Were the midgets from that same corporation?
The MG midgets, yes.
Okay. I wasn't that up to date on them, but I know they were head turners.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were. And the Brit cars in this country in the 60s into the very early 70s were very popular. In fact, the Jaguar, when they came out with this Mark 7 in 1950, it was marketed to the U.S. because they figured that they couldn't sell enough cars in Britain to make a go of it because they were still hurting from the war.
Absolutely, they were.
Yeah, and so they made it a point to put this 1951 Mark 7 to make it big, to make it fast and appealing towards Americans. And at the time that it was put out, that 1951 Jaguar Mark 7 was the fastest sedan on the road. It could make a 100.
That 51, is it a straight six, or
it's a straight?
How's it configured?
It's a straight six.
Straight six, okay.
Straight six, but with a dual overhead cam. Straight six. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What engineering?
Yeah.
What engineering? Well, you see, at the time, the Viper was inspired. At that time, Chrysler owned Lamborghini.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And the engineers were working on it. And of course, they turned to Lamborghini, and they came up with a car and an engine that weighed much less than the Lamborghini and outperformed it and everything. But again, you're looking at style versus crude horsepower. And they leaned on their engineers to help with this engineering of the engine. But I didn't realize that was a straight six in your dad's car.
Yeah,
I followed your restoration, and that truly has to be a work of love.
It is, and Dad and I took a look at the progress that they're making at the body shop several weeks ago, and they're really coming along. And this thing's going to be. I still got a lot of work. As soon as I get the car, I got to put everything back together, which is not going. It's going to be the cleaner part of the job. The dirty part was taking it apart, but I got a feeling it's going to take longer to put it back together than it is to take it apart, because I'm running into troubles. Some of the stuff isn't available. Brake lines aren't available. Fuel lines aren't available, which means I've got to make my own, and I've never done that before. I mean, I'll learn, but it's going to take some time. What else wasn't available? I could buy a new wiring harness for the thing, but I couldn't buy a diagram for it. They said, there's
really?
They said there's no diagrams available. I said, what do you mean there's no diagrams available?
Yeah, the factory doesn't have that in their archives somewhere?
Well, you would think, or I said, if you're building one custom, how do they know it's right? They've got to be going by something. He said, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right. We'll figure something out. We'll get you something. So, and I just saw my American Express. They just dinged my American Express, so I think that thing's finished and on its way over. So I'll have the wiring diagram before I have the car, which is the way it needs to be.
Well, did the Jaguar enthusiasts, were they able to help you? Because I know there's collectors and my goodness, what would it be? Where would you be without the internet in this situation?
Oh yeah. Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you need to do something, you just Google it and you watch a few videos.
Absolutely. Can you imagine trying to accomplish something like that without the help of the internet? Now, I know it was done at a point in time, but you didn't know. No one had any idea what the internet was, or if there would ever be anything about it. So
right.
If you never had something and never lost it, then you never thought anything about it. But can you imagine trying to accomplish that without the internet?
No.
It seems like there would be a lot of enthusiasts out there that could help you.
Oh yeah, I'll get it done. In fact, I found a workaround for just about everything so far. So the biggest problems I've had, I've been down 17 dead end roads, but there's probably 117 left. So one thing I have is time. So
yes, I know your dad is older.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about his health conditions, but I know it's going to be a point of pride and love to see the smile on your dad's face when you fire it up and go out for your first Sunday drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit back and enjoy this. Or, Dad, would you like to take her for a spin and see what memories you have of this car?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because he looked at that thing. He said, son, when is this thing going to be finished? I said, well, it's never going to be finished, Dad. I don't think I'll ever finish it. There'll always be something else to do with it. He said, well, I thought you said we're going to get to drive this thing sooner rather than later. I said, oh yeah. I said, as soon as the engine runs, as soon as I get the electric hooked up, the brakes hooked up, the fuel hooked up, I said, we can drive it. He said, what do you mean? I said, those two old seats, I'll just bolt two seats in that thing and then we'll drive it down the street. I said, but it won't be finished. There'll be no interior in the thing. The chrome probably won't be on it yet. We may have to bungee cord the doors together, but we'll drive it down the street.
Looking at it through his eyes, your dad is 80...
85.
85,
Mm-hmm.
okay. His days are shorter than of a man our age in 60, 61, 62.
Mm-hmm.
His days are shorter. So being in your shoes, you can say, well, I don't know if I'll ever be finished. It's going to do this, going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take this, take that. And your dad's thinking, well, how many more days am I going to have to look at this?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You got to think of that possibility also. He's getting itchy, and
oh sure.
Then again, he might be thinking on the other end, well, how much time do I have to possibly see this?
Maybe that's an incentive for him to stick around for a little longer.
You sure? Yeah. Absolutely.
Uh-huh. Well,
gives him a little motivation.
And the thing is you can do anything with these cars if you want to put the work into them, and most importantly, if you want to write the check. That's the big thing too. And how big of a check do you want to write, and what do you want to do? And but But it's that way with anything. I mean, your Viper, that's not a cheap car. It's not a cheap car to own. It's not a cheap car to maintain.
No. And it's like, well, like I was telling you about my Polaris yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They're very expensive. Or a Harley. I have a Harley. Anything to do with Harley Davidson, you got big money signs behind it. So, and as you said before, follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the money, and you'll find a Harley or a Viper or a Jag or whatever. That's the sad part of the story.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get to a certain age, you've got a little bit of extra money, and you might as well spend it on that. I mean,
sure.
I don't own a fishing boat; they're expensive. I don't go on hunting trips and own a hunting cabin; they're expensive. I don't do any of that, but I like my cars.
I live in a lake community.
Mm-hmm.
I had no desire for a boat. Never have been interested in boats. If it's something I'm interested in, I try to make my dream come true.
Oh yeah, I mean nothing against boats. I know lots of people who have boats and they love them, but they're very expensive to maintain. But that's okay. I mean, what are you going to do?
That's their passion. Yes.
What are you going to do? Leave the money to the kids?
Yes. Somebody that didn't have to sweat and break their back and go through the struggles that you and I both have been through to accumulate what we have.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to go through it, so why necessarily leave it to them? I know you don't want to leave your offspring penniless or anything like that.
I do.
Well, I didn't have anything given to me.
If there's money left over, wonderful. But the plan is for me to spend the last dollars I'm taking my last breath, and any one of my children would be happy if it worked out that way. They earn their own money. They're all doing just fine. They don't want mine. They're making their own.
James, we think alike when it comes to that. I was just trying to be nice. I said that. With all the hobbies and everything I've done, I'm still, for a working man, I'm still doing fine.
Very good.
But I have other dreams that I haven't achieved yet, and I'm still headed in that direction.
That's good. I mean, you have to live for your dreams. I mean, once you've accomplished everything else, you may as well just live for your dreams, to have fun.
That's the whole point of it. And the Viper, just like with your Jag, it's such a thrill.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with you yesterday briefly, and we have our own. My wife and I, we go out on a Sunday afternoon drive or something. We have our own private car show wherever we go. If we stop at some little burger joint or just sit at a Walmart parking lot. I was driving to the Chrysler lot, my local Chrysler dealer, where I buy my other vehicles.
Okay.
This vehicle I had to purchase up in Roanoke, Illinois.
Really? How come?
Yes, there's two main dealerships in the States that really thrive and know these Vipers.
Okay.
And one is in a little bitty town up in kind of like north central Illinois.
Okay.
By the name of Roanoke.
Okay.
And it's Roanoke Motors. And the other is Tom Ball in Texas, Tom Ball dealership in Tom Ball, Texas.
Okay.
And my little dealership, it's a small town, maybe 2,500 people. And he has sold Vipers in all 50 states and I don't know how many countries. And actually, my Viper was sold there originally. It had 300 miles on it. The guy never licensed it or did anything with it. And he shipped it back to Roanoke and bought another one in the place of it.
What was different with the one that he bought versus the one that he bought originally?
The original one, I think this gentleman probably bought one every year.
Okay.
And there's a lot of folks that did that. And but mine is more or less, it was built to beat Corvettes, specifically beat Corvettes on the road courses.
Okay.
Now, Corvette Vipers are a handful. They really are. Mm-hmm. They're a handful. If you don't know what you're doing or watch what you're doing, you're going to kill yourself. And it's happened a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They are brutes, just crude horsepower. And if you messed around with it,